if you're needed every minute of the day, you're a very bad leader. You're a great leader if you can go away for 2 weeks and nothing will break down.
Yeah.
No crisis will emerge and people will know what to do and things will just flow. And if there are problems, they can be resolved. Not every problem, maybe there's a problem that they will come to you. But if you manage to build a team that is running without you being there, then you're a great leader when it comes to delegation and empowering people. There are 4 attributes for me that are incredibly important today. One is integrity. I can't be inspired or I cannot admire a leader who hasn't got integrity. The second one is humility. You have lots of egos everywhere, lots of people who just are so big they can get through the door. So humility is to be a humble hero in today's world. It's a very rare quality for leaders. So the second one. The third one is probably confidence, and confidence in terms of being brave to do the right thing without being worried about the consequences, rather than pretending to be confident.
I'm Farah Shammas. Welcome to Hotel Talk. We hope you enjoy listening to this friendly conversation between people connected by real life in hotels. Welcome today to a partner of PwC here in Cyprus, Cleo Papadopoulou. It's a pleasure to have you with us.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Well, I'm so happy. You've been on my list for a long time, and I can't wait to delve into. You are one of the first times I've gone to the back of a page with questions.
You're a bit scared.
I know, but all fun. So when I was just did a quick LinkedIn, obviously I know, when we think of PwC, I think many of us in Cyprus think of you. You're in a lot of conferences, you're all over the place, which I can identify with. But then I was like, my goodness, how many titles? We have Head of Tax and Reporting Strategy and Connected Compliance, Chief Inclusion and Diversity Officer, and Chief Learning Officer, among others. Those are just, So I'm going to start off with everyone's favourite subject. I say that with a joke. Compliance.
Okay.
Let's talk about compliance. Why has it become so important and why is it so complicated?
Okay.
Because not everybody is in this world. So, yeah, just sum it up for us.
There's people who absolutely hate compliance.
Most
people who need
99.9% of the people I know.
And there's people who love compliance. Okay, compliance is necessary to keep things in order. I'm not one of those people who believe that trust is built by compliance and regulation, and I also keep saying that over and over again, that trust is built by transparency and honesty, not regulation and more regulation. But we live in an era of more and more regulation, and there's more and more coming in to either it's tax or it's corporate or it's anti-money laundering or it is whatever regulation comes up. So unfortunately, it's becoming increasingly difficult for companies to comply. So what I do in PwC, and this is what I keep saying to the 200 people in my team, is, what is the value that we offer to companies? Is basically taking away that headache, which is called compliance, from your daily lives, your annual whatever work you need to do, so you can focus on your business, and then everything else is taken care of. So what we do in the team is basically take care of everything that a company needs to do, from bookkeeping, financial statements, audits, tax compliance, filing tax returns, VAT returns, annual returns, secretarial work that needs to be done by the company secretary, AML, KYC, the whole lot. We just take that away, and whatever other tasks that clients don't want to do, like collecting their debtors or dealing with claims or whatever, which we're happy to take that away.
Because it can take up so much of of someone's time and day, and then they don't have time to focus on their business, on their growth, on development.
And like all things, Farah, is if you have the technology to do it efficiently, then it's better to get someone to do it other than you struggling with every single little thing and trying to learn every single regulation that comes along. So,
and if it's not something you love, I think that's can be applied to anything in business and in life. Like, do what you love. Obviously, we all have to do something that isn't our favorite things, but in general, if we can free up our time and give these other tasks that we're not professionals at, or we're not the best at them, give it to someone else, pay them, subcontract, but then free up our time to really grow and do what we're good at, then in general companies will grow, you will grow.
It's the same with our private lives. I mean, you don't want to clean the house, you get someone. You want to clean the pool, you get someone to clean the pool. That guy or girl, knows better how to do it. You don't want to do it because you want to focus on the stuff that you love.
Exactly.
And then you just outsource whatever you don't want. So
it's the same thing. I couldn't agree more. So let's talk a bit about inclusion in the workplace. We've been at several conferences, I think, at the same time talking about this. Equal opportunities, women's rights, so many things come under this. Where do you think we are in Cyprus on this topic?
Well, you only need to look at statistics to understand we're very far behind everyone else. I think on gender equality, we're 23rd, if I'm not mistaken. On women in boards, we are 10%, and the EU is 33%, women in boards in general. So there's a lot of catching up that needs to be done. And what I usually say is that the catching up is very, 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 very slow. It's probably at best 1% per year, so it's going to take decades to get to where we should be. And what countries that are ahead of us and have progressed fast basically put targets. That's the only way you can actually progress. So if you look at Scandinavia, for example, or certain other countries, you will see that they have reached a level of gender equity, gender equality because of targets being put earlier on. And people thought, okay, I mean, we can talk for hours about targets and stuff. Some people are against, some people are for that. But I think
it's due mainly to mentality and culture, or do you think there's practical issues?
It's a combination of things. I say, first of all, it's the system, then it's biases and stereotypes, and then the last is the women themselves. So people are focusing on mentoring women, and that it's the women's fault, and not being demanding, not being ambitious enough, settling for sort of lower paid jobs and less demanding jobs so that they can look after the family. Yeah, that applies for some of the women, but not all of the women. And I'm all pro-choice. If you want to stay at home and raise your kids because that's all you want to do,
it's great.
It's great. But nobody should be forced to do that because the other part of the relationship wants to have a career. So I think the system has been set up. And when I say the system, I mean both in the corporate world as well as the system inside the social system. There's no support. I mean, schools finish at 1.
I was just about to say this. It's a disaster. So, I mean, you physically cannot be there unless you have support of grandparents or nannies or drivers. And even if you do, it's not the same. It's not enough. It's not the same. It's just, so for the majority of, and it does fall on women, they have to leave at lunchtime to go and get their kids and be there and look after them.
But it doesn't have to be the women. It should be the men.
Wow.
I mean, but we are far from that and in the office I see a lot of people, including partners, leaving to go and pick up their kids, and they do the afternoon, whatever, driving around, but not many are doing that. And we have this perception, which again stereotypes, that this is the role of women. I was terrible at doing that because I don't have the patience to drive around in busy Limassol taking my kids to ballet classes and music classes and whatever. I sort of asked, and I was blessed to have parents who were working until lunchtime. They were teachers, so they could do that in the afternoon. they had all the patience to start early and go. I was just screaming. I mean, I was a terrible driver.
Well, as you said, it's better to outsource because you don't want to become that nervous parent.
Exactly.
You want to be a good parent there, present for your children and happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it doesn't have to be the role of the women who do that. But, you know, in Cyprus, that's...
Unfortunately,
if the kid gets sick, it's the mom who will stay at home. Not the dad, so it doesn't have to be that. And then you have the corporate world and where, you know, stereotypes kick in when you're promoting someone or you're looking for the next boss or whatever. You're looking at qualities that you see in yourself when you see in other men. I mean, if you see, that's why it's so important to get, you know, 30% of women in boards and in leadership positions, because that's the tipping point where you can have a voice and see different things in future leaders. If you have a board which is just primarily men and they're looking who is the next board member or who is the next up for promotion, then you're just looking for qualities that look like the
you're only seeing one side. That's the thing. You
don't open. And the good things about targets or quotas is that they force you to open up your horizons and see people who are not the mainstream people you see. So it's to answer your question, it's the system, the social system, the corporate system, the stereotypes, the women to a lesser extent. So everything is contributing towards.
Any advice to anyone listening to this? Would you like to say anything? What do you think could be a solution? I mean, okay, there's a million solutions and it will take decades, as you said, but in a shorter term.
When I talk to women in and out of PwC, because I'm sort of mentoring a lot of women, I say to them before they are in a serious relationship, you know, clarify from the beginning. If you're ambitious, if you want to progress, if you want to have a career, and your dream is not to just stay home and raise your kids, then you have to be upfront, clear before the relationship becomes serious that, you know, we want to share the household, we want to share the work with the kids, not help. Everybody's saying, you know, I'm helping, but it's not help that women need, it's sharing. So if you're upfront from the beginning that, you know, you ask for support, and you need to have support systems, not just the spouse or your partner, but also other people. I had like 3 different support systems because one fails, then you have a backup and a backup. Otherwise, you won't be able. So my advice would be to not let anybody take you down because, you know, you had a child or because, you know, whatever happens, you have an elderly parent you need to look after. Go after your dreams, but, you know, seek support and clarify from the beginning in any relationship that, you know, this is what I want and I expect that you would share.
Yeah, be honest and not feel shy or ashamed to ask for that help.
Yeah.
Either from your partner or from other people around you. And that goes for men as well. I mean, we all should be more open about.
And that's easier. I mean, when I was trying to take care of my kids, you know, many years ago, there was no virtual working, there was no laptops, there was no remote working. I mean, if I had to work, I had to just drop the kids and go. And very often I went after midnight into the office to finish my work because we had not laptops, we had the PCs at the time. The tower. But now you can work remotely from home. You can, you know, sort of if you have many people in my team who are totally remote and if they deliver the work, that's fine. And that works for them. So it's a lot easier now to basically integrate work and life and balance the needs of both than many years ago. So people should take advantage of that. I know in a hotel it's more difficult. You can't work remotely.
Exactly. Yeah, that's I do say that. In the hotel, you can't really do remote because you need to not only most of us in the service side of it and front of house, but even the people who are more back of house still need to feel the pulse of what's going on. Everything changes every day. But I'm very proud that in St. Raphael Resort Marina we have 50% women.
Okay.
Yeah, which I think is very unusual for Cyprus and I think Europe. So I'm really proud of that. We're definitely not there on the board level. It's only me. But with our whole team, it's 50% and our managers as well. We have a good mix. So yeah. How have you found it as a woman, especially I would say in a man's world? And that's not a sexist comment to say that it is. And I find Cyprus, okay, we are European. We, coming from a Middle Eastern background as well, we are not Arabic. We're not as, let's say, Middle Eastern, but we still have a lot of that culture. We still have a lot of those biases. We are European, but I would say we kind of pretend to be. And we're also, I find, quite an ageist society. So not just more male dominated, but and a European person got confused recently when I said that in an interview. And I said, no, not as in pro youth, as in pro age, or not as in pro retirement. People stay in their positions for a very long time, which is great.
Yeah.
You know, they don't have to retire. Many people, especially business owners or partners. But as a result, they don't let younger people in, fresher blood in. So it's quite difficult, I think, for people aspiring to move up that corporate ladder, especially as women. How have you found it?
Okay, I'll start with I agree with you. We're sort of partially Middle East and partially European. I sort of, if you consider the Middle East chaos and Europe organized, we are like organized chaos.
Exactly.
We're organized
but
chaos.
You know what, guys? It's beautiful. I love it.
Everything.
I don't think I could, if I suddenly had to move to Europe tomorrow, like properly, or the UK and work, I'd be like, what is this? What's going on? Well, I love it. Yeah.
My brother lives in Switzerland and it's highly regulated. I said I could never live in a country like that. I could never live, in chaos. So this for me is
what we know.
Yeah. So coming back to your question, it was really hard. I mean, when I was made partner, it was me and 33 men. So
you were the only.
I was the only woman.
And now?
And now we are 4 in 37. It's progress, but not real progress if you ask me after 20-something years. It was really hard. It was hard for various reasons. First of all, I had to work extra hard to prove myself. After having my kids, I had to sort of do double shifts and work super hard just to prove to everybody I was not on mommy track and I was still on my career track. So people would not confuse, parenthood as, stopping me from being
not use that as an excuse. Yeah.
And then there was like behaviors. I have, my partners took care of me in all meetings and whatever, but, I was the odd one out. I mean, I felt like, the person who did not belong because all the jokes were like men jokes, all the talks were about football, and everything was around men. I mean, there was nothing and for me to contribute into a conversation. And I ended up sort of sitting with my husband over the weekend to find out what matches we're playing on so I could be part of the conversation on Monday morning. So it was that bad. And then I started adjusting. So I was laughing with their jokes and becoming, like them and dressing.
You have to
and whatever.
Yeah,
so
make yourself more masculine.
So I could have a sense of belonging and fit into that crowd. And it was like a gradual change until someone woke me up, and it was a colleague who said, you're becoming a man. I said, what you mean? You don't wear any colors. There's no femininity left in you. You're like behaving like them. You laugh with their jokes and whatever. And I was like, she's right. And from there on, it was like a switch went on. And I went from, trousers into dresses, into color, into whatever. And then instead of participating in conversations about football, I started conversations about nails and hair. And then they were looking at me and I said, I'm as interested in football as you're interested in nails and hair. So why are we talking about football for 20 minutes at the beginning of every meeting? So that's how things gradually started to change.
And how was that? That must have been quite
People were looking at me. I mean, smoking was another thing. Smoking, they were just all smoking was before smoking was bad. And the CEO was the first one who would light up a cigar or even a cigar in a meeting, in a room, like this where we have 30 people or whatever. And it was just it was horrible. My eyes were running, my throat was burning. So it took a lot of courage to go and say to them, can you please stop smoking in these meetings because I don't feel well, I feel sick, And he looked at me like that, and I was talking to the CEO, and I said, can you please put the cigarette down or the cigar down, because he was lighting up, and then everybody else was following. And then I still remember the look on his face was like, he was processing, and then he sort of put the cigarettes out. And from there on, I was just bullying everyone who would.
Yeah, standing up for yourself. Yeah.
And I think strange. Well before, cigarettes were banned in meetings and in the offices. But it was a natural thing, and everybody was like,
yeah, well, 20 years ago it was. I mean,
it was a torture for me. So I had to speak up, but it takes a lot of courage to sort of stand up and say to the CEO, can you please put that cigarette down before everyone starts to say.
Yeah.
So in every aspect of life, if you want things to change, I always say you have to be the first one to do it. Instead of, in Cyprus, we have this idea of complaining about everything, but we're not actually doing anything to change things. So, you either be part of change, or you're changing something, or you're accepting something.
Yeah.
So if you accept something, you can't complain.
And don't complain about it, yeah.
If you want to complain, you go into something to change.
It's one of my favourite mottos. For every problem, there's a solution. Interesting. And what about well-being? So I have here, well-being, you just mentioned cigarettes bothering you, you're quite fit. You have that you like dancing. I think you like Pilates as well. So tell us a bit about well-being. And
okay, I need to start by saying that you became an accountant by accident. So I went to London to become a dancer. And then I qualified as an accountant. It's a long story for another day.
So tell us that. In an elevator, okay, couple of minutes. Tell us about
basically
how you got into, because I do have that as a question. How did you end up in this world, in accounting? Yeah.
It's by accident. Pretty much. So I was one of those people who had 20 out of 20 in every subject in school. And I was studying hard, very hard and whatever. And I was good at everything, and I didn't know what to do. I mean, when you ask people, what do you want to become? Most people don't know. I didn't know. But I love dancing. So I wanted to become a dancer. And basically what stopped me from doing that was an injury. So I had an injury when I was 5th grade of secondary school, which did not allow me to participate in exams. I couldn't get on point in ballet. So I missed the exams. So I couldn't get into the Royal School of Ballet in London. So I had to sort of compromise with something else. So I joined another school. And then I realized that, if I can't be with the best, then I don't want to be. So I was doing partially ballet and partially accounting, which was a choice of my dad, because he heard that, there are lots of jobs for accountants in Cyprus. And that's how I ended up in accounting.
That's
and then things
meant to be. But that's hilarious. Your dad's like, oh yeah, you go to accounting.
Yeah, I can't. I mean, I was I was in university doing both, and I said, I can't decide that, and I had computer science and this and that and all the options. And I said, okay, that's it. I'm deciding for you. So it was my dad who decided.
Thank goodness you liked it and you excelled in it. Yes. But in general, you are a positive person. I feel that life can throw numerous things at you, and you're just going to take it, make the most out of it, and move forward.
And back to well-being, what actually makes me a positive person and what makes me stay sane is dancing. I just love dancing. I find it's meditation, because if you want to follow a choreo, I don't know if you ever dance and you're trying to follow a choreo, you can't follow a choreo by thinking something else. You need to be thinking
about someone else's tax files.
Yeah.
No, tax returns.
No. So you have to be present. So
when do you dance? So you finish your day. Do you dance every day? Do you dance at home? Do you dance in a class?
I'm a Zumba instructor.
Okay.
So I teach Zumba every evening. So I have 3 groups, one in Limassol, one in Maroni where I live, and one in Casilla. And every day at 7 o'clock, rain or shine, doesn't matter what happens, I'll just shut down the laptop and go to class. So if you are the teacher, you can't have an excuse not to go.
Yeah.
If you're
a student,
you have all sorts of excuses. It's raining, I have too much work, don't feel well. But if you're a teacher, you have to be. So that forced me to be disciplined and do that. And actually it helped me to help other people to be positive, to get out of their comfort zone and sort of dance, because it's not easy for everyone to get out of their daily routine and have 1 hour to themselves. Well, it's a party and they have a good fun.
It is a lot of fun, isn't it?
Yeah. And, there's not a single person who comes to class and leaves, miserable. You can't be miserable, because you'll be just by sitting and listening to the music, then you become better after an hour.
So why do you like helping people? because that's very apparent. I mean, you've got to where you've got to. You could say, right, I'm a partner, had my kids, now is my time. But you're still so active. You're at loads of conferences, you're mentoring women, you're taking on more and more things in PwC to help with not just equality and diversity. You do Zumba. Where does that drive come from? What happened in your life that made you say, I want to help people?
Thank God nothing happened in my life to make me say. But I think I realized over the years that you get a lot of satisfaction from helping clients to deal with their tax problems and compliance and whatever and technical work. And I love technical work, but I've done it for 30 years. So I got to a point where I was drawn into people and helping people. And
but again, something must have not happened like a big thing, aha moment. But when you were young, maybe being with your parents, maybe having friends around.
I was always a social person. So I like being with people. I can't spend a lot of time being alone. And I am one of those people who want to share. If I know something, I want to share it with the world. I don't keep it to myself. So everything I share, like articles I read with my team. I send quotes I like with my team. I share things on LinkedIn if you follow me on LinkedIn, which has nothing to do with my work. I started Zumba to help people, get out of that zone there all the time. And I find a lot of joy in giving. I mean, there's a lot of joy in getting stuff. And maybe that's another reason that I have enough of everything. I'm very, I got to a point where I stopped buying stuff because I have so much things. I decided not to buy anything again. So I got a lot of joy out of getting, but the joy that you get out of giving is so much more powerful. And unless you actually do it, you don't understand.
How maybe that's your love language.
Maybe. And also, my favorite quote, because I know you're asking me about my favorite quote.
Tell us now.
And that's actually, maybe that's what sort of triggered this thinking now is we leave nothing behind in this world other than the people whose lives will touch positively. And that have made my
mantra.
Yeah, my mantra. So every day I'm trying to sort of touch positively people's lives, either walking to the office with a smile on my face, saying, how are you? And, joking with everybody, or, doing podcasts like this, or, I don't know, mentoring people, coaching people, whatever. Even random acts of kindness, sort of letting someone get in front of you in the streets.
Or just smiling, or giving someone a compliment.
And I think it makes a difference. I mean, I remember once I was at the traffic lights, I had this music, I always have music in the car, and I go dancing, and there was a guy next to me, and, he put the window down, and he said, I want to talk to you. So I put the window, and he goes, why are you so happy? And I said, why not?
Why not? Yeah.
And he said, I like you very much. You're power saying in Greek. And it was like, I mean.
Just to make someone's day. Yeah, give them your smile. Yeah. Well, they have done studies where they've given people money. I mean, this was quite a famous study. I'm sure many of the listeners know it. But they gave 2 groups money, and they told one group, spend it on yourself, and another group, you've got to give it away. And they measured how happy they were at the beginning of that day and then at the end. And the ones that spent it on themselves, their happiness index had only gone up slightly. And the ones that had to give it away to help someone went up massively, either to charity or help their sister who needed something, or they bought a gift, and they were, much, much happier people because of it. So there's a lot to be said for everyone. Sharing, caring, being kind. Yeah, so that's our mantra at St. Raphael, is radiate kindness.
Yeah. So Zumba is that. I mean, I don't take money from Zumba. I just collect contributions, and then we help families in the village.
That's amazing.
So, everybody pays something every month, and then we collect the money and then we give it away. So that's where we will have a great time, and we help people around.
I love that. So work-life balance, the hot topic of the last few years. 2 questions in this. How do you promote that in PwC? Because it's tough in big corporations. A lot of it's numbers. however much you want to stay personal, it's there. You've got to see productivity. You've got to see how much you're paying people. So how do you promote this balance? And then we'll get to how do you manage it on a personal level.
First of all, I don't think it's a balance. I think it's integration. I talked a little bit before on that. It's not about whether you choose life or you choose work. It's about how you integrate the two in every minute of your life. So, and when we talk about balance, it's about importance. When your kids are young and then they need more attention, then the sort of
the scale
goes up on, and then you have less focus on your career. When the kids grow up and you have more time, then you focus on work and maybe giving and this kind of stuff. So it's all about different stages in life require different sort of attention. But every single day is like, what is priority? And you keep switching from work to life and work to life. And it's a constant thing. I mean, you don't go to work and all of a sudden you shut off your phone and then someone calls you from school and your kid is sick or whatever. And you say, now it's work and I don't do life. So it's an integration. So as I said before, virtual working has helped a lot in this flexibility that at least we offer in PwC. You cannot work remotely. Or 99% of us can work remotely, and that helps a lot in sort of balancing and work and life. But also having understanding and the flexibility, even if it's not working from home, but flexibility to sort of take time off and do what's important, deal with what's important for you, and then sort of work extra on weekends or whatever to catch up with. That's part of work-life balance. And the other thing I want to say is that, and it goes back to well-being, we should all have time for ourselves. We need to have at least half an hour a day where it's my time, either to reflect or to have a cup of coffee with a friend or to go into your hobbies or whatever you do. It's incredibly important because I was there when I had 3 young kids and, time was precious and people were asking me, what do you really long for? And I said, an empty house for an hour and a cup of coffee. That was my dream for many, many years. And I think that's important for people to make time by having backup support to just take time for themselves. Otherwise, if you're not well, then your kids are not well, then your colleagues are not well. And you need to, I call dancing the pressure valve in the pressure cooker, the pressure cooker. Yes. And then it blows up unless you have the valve that takes the steam out. You need something to take the steam out every day. If you don't have that, then one day you'll explode. And then people will be wondering what happened to you.
Yeah. Where did that come from?
Where did that come from?
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And I would say, even if it's just to drive to the school early before pickup and just sit in the car for 5 minutes and just have silence or you need that time. You absolutely do. Otherwise you start going a bit cuckoo.
Yeah.
Okay, my last question is about leadership. So as a leader, which you are at PwC, how do you define leadership? And what qualities do you believe are essential for leaders in today's business environment?
I mean, there's various quotes about what leadership is about, and I think my favorite one, because it's not mine, is that leadership is about helping people so that they can be great when you're not there. So what I say to and goes back to sharing of knowledge and empowering people, etc. If you're needed every minute of the day, you're a very bad leader. You're a great leader if you can go away for 2 weeks and nothing will break down. Yeah. No crisis will emerge and people will know what to do and things will just flow. And if there are problems, they can be resolved. Not every problem, maybe there's a problem that they will come to you. But if you manage to build a team that is running without you being there, then you're a great leader when it comes to delegation and empowering people. In terms of qualities, I mean, the qualities of leadership have been throughout the years pretty much the same. But because the world is changing and there is what I believe a lot of values in today's world, there are 4 attributes for me that are incredibly important today. One is integrity. I can't be inspired or I cannot admire a leader who hasn't got integrity. The second one is humility. you have lots of egos everywhere,
my
lots of people
goodness,
who
yeah.
just are so big they can get through the door. So humility is to be a humble hero in today's world. It's a very rare quality for leaders. So the second one. The third one is probably confidence, and confidence in terms of being brave to do the right thing without being worried about the consequences, rather than pretending to be confident. I think these three are probably the most important for me.
And being authentic.
Being authentic. I mean, you can't be all these without
being really yourself.
And today, people are very clever and they can smell the bullshit, if you excuse my French. So it's if you pretend you're someone else rather than the real you, people will tell immediately. So authenticity for me is it's a no-brainer. And you can tell yourself. But it needs bravery. It needs a lot of stuff to be able to be yourself. Otherwise, when we talk about inclusion, I said, I hate it when people said, this person doesn't fit in. I mean, what do you mean this person doesn't fit in? I mean, people should stand out, not fit in. And we should be hiring people who stand out, are different from us, rather than trying to hire people who are like us so they can fit into the whatever culture we call is the culture.
But I think that's the problem with most cultures. I mean, obviously we know Cyprus, so we're talking about Cyprus, but I think it's universal. People are afraid of standing out. That goes back to our DNA. It's normal survival mechanisms. But if everybody's wearing black or dark blue suits, that's what everyone's going to wear, People don't want to wear green like me now, or just, come out and be different, or be seen different, or be laughed at. But I think people have to, not take themselves, not take life too seriously. And also competition. I think in Cyprus, a lot of people are very aware of the competitors, of what people are doing. They want to, just feel safe, doing what is acceptable and what's okay.
It's general in the world. I think today there's these groups that you're either in the group or you're out of the group. There's nothing. I mean, and I don't want to go into politics now, but it's the same. During COVID, you're either taking the shot or you're an anti-vaxxer.
Pro-vax or
if you say anything about, I don't know, bombing Gaza, you're anti-Semitic. If you say so, if everybody's trying to be very careful in sort of being, and the whole world is actually grooming people to be either in this group or you're against the group. But there's so much in between.
The grey areas.
That we keep ignoring. And, I'm not there and I'm not there. I'm in the middle. I mean, can't I be in the middle? People are, because there's so much bullying happening in online with people who are saying something different than the narrative that everybody's saying. People are afraid to actually stand out and do something different. So they just go along with wearing black and behaving exactly the same way and saying exactly the same things, or not saying anything at all, so that they felt like they're part of the group and not out of the group, because that's how unfortunately society has. But I believe that we are now at the crossroads where things are actually changing and different voices are coming forward in actually enabling people to sort of speak back and say, I'm not here, I'm not here, and I'm here and I'm comfortable being in the middle. But we're not there yet.
We're not there yet, but we're on the way.
Yeah.
Bonus question. Shake from our crystal ball. Let's see who asked you what.
Okay. What's the strongest food combination you ever tried?
That's definitely from someone from the F&B department. Let me see. That's hilarious.
Should I say the name?
Yes. Andreas Milonano, he's our group. What's the strangest?
The strangest food combination.
What's the strangest food combination you've ever tried? That's interesting.
I'm not a foodie.
Okay.
Unfortunately, Andrea. So I'm very traditional in what I try, and I'm not daring, unlike my kids who are very daring. But what's the strangest combination? I think it would be, I love Nutella.
Okay.
So I sit in front of the TV and empty a jar usually.
Okay.
But have you tried putting like something savory into Nutella, like the pretzels?
Okay.
So
that's weird.
That's
yeah.
probably, I don't know, the weirdest.
I guess it's a bit like salted caramel, isn't it? Or but that definitely, I wouldn't think of Pringles and chocolate spread. Yeah, that's it. Andrea, that's a good question. I am a foodie and I can't think.
What's the strangest you have tried?
Honestly, I can't think, and I love food. I guess maybe miso and something sweet, or
my daughter will have a list because she tries the most amazing things all over the world.
I'm sure.
I am not.
Asia has really bizarre combos. Yeah. Interesting.
Sort of, if I try something and I like it, I stick to that and enjoy the same food over and over again. Unfortunately.
Thank you so much, my dear. It was so interesting. I think, we covered quite a few topics, and there's always so much more. But thank you for sharing a little bit of your journey, your thoughts and your visions.
I hope people find it useful.
Definitely. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button because it helps us more than you may realise. If you are planning on coming to visit us at St. Raphael Resort and Marina, feel free to email our reservations team quoting Hotel Talk and receive an exclusive offer just for you. We look forward to seeing you soon, hearing your feedback about our show, and producing many, many more interesting episodes just for you, our listener, and our valued guest in mind. Thank you so much, and take care.